to what we came here for, ladies and gentlemen, because we got to talk about why FBAs in Los Angeles have plenty of reasons or why they aren't getting involved with the ICE protest. You know, we've been seeing a lot of videos, a lot of videos of people saying, you know, hey y'all, FBAs, you know, Mexico helped y'all back in slavery hundreds of years ago. They were letting slaves go to Mexico. Let me tell you something, that's not really hitting very well. Let me tell you why. You can't use something from 100 years ago to try to guilt trip us. Can you use something from last year, this year? I even get an expansion. What about 5 years ago? What about 10 years ago? In the 21st century? What about 20 years ago? 2000. If you've done something for us like equal to that in 25 years, I'm giving you that far back, 25 years. And you know the answer to that question. We know the answer to that question. This is why you're using that. The second thing they're trying to use, we came out there during the protest with George Floyd. Y'all to come out, or anybody come out with George Floyd? Remember, I was doing my platform at the time. None of us requested no help or no backup. Y'all came out there on your own validity. We didn't ask you. Every time we do something, we already know we on our own. And then when people do come out, y'all come out there looting. Well, we not even trying to loot. You come out there doing the most or whatever, trying to get attention for yourself, and y'all could do all this looting, and then we get blamed for it. That's why I'm so glad FBAs are out there right now. Now I saw y'all loot. We're gonna run through a series of videos and news articles to give you some reasons why FBAs are at their homes, and they have good reason to be at home. And when y'all see all of this, I want y'all to remember what you're going to see. Now, let's start off with Exhibit 8. Back in 2018, Sister Shirley Hussar, may she rest in power, she's not with us anymore. She invited me to go to the Taste of Soul while I was out there in Politicon. Never been there before. I wasn't too familiar with Los Angeles and the relations with black people and Mexicans in particular. My experience prior to that, I didn't have any issues with Mexicans at all down here while I lived in Texas. Worked with them, you know, been to their houses, they invite us, they come to our houses, barbecue, whatever. Never really been issues and problems. You know, I've talked to brothers and sisters I've been out there on the East Coast, never really had issues and problems like that. But in 2018, I was informed, they said, hey, bro, nah, they don't like us out here like that. They on something different. I said, really? I just never knew that. So this one brother I'm about to play for you was one of the brothers that got me to go down the path of starting to investigate at the time. Let me play this video from 2018 at the Taste of Soul, and I want you to hear what this brother was saying back then.
Whole race of people here, Hispanic people, is claiming that they the hardest working people that there is. If you so hard working, why Mexico so? I got issues with that. I got issues with a lot of things. You got T-Mobile, Sprint, Verizon, Wells Fargo, Starbucks. You got CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens, all Hispanic staffs right here in LA. Nobody stand up to fight against them. Why is that?
Well, let me ask you a question. Why is it do you think they're hiring them over African Americans?
Racism.
So you say they're coming in with a racist attitude and hiring them, but you know they're a people group and want to cut out African Americans. So how can we counter that?
Well, first off, to counter that, you would be able to contact ICE. And let's say whoever you need to contact to let them know that you have illegal immigrants working in facilities. They have made that so hard to do here. You can't just call, you can't just go online because they want too much information for that illegal immigrant. Which is, it makes no sense. You should be able to call and say, hey, look, this business has illegal immigrants working here. You have illegal immigrants living above this business, living in the back of this business. You're unable to do that because they've made it hard for anybody to report illegal immigrants.
So based on what I researched, a lot of research, the majority of the illegal immigrants are coming from Central America, you know, like your El Salvador's, your Nicaragua. You got, you know, some coming from Honduras right now. And they're trying to, you know, come into the country.
Why is it you feel they're leaving their countries and feel that it's okay to come here and make a better living?
Because Hispanics had told them, hey, come here. We can hook you up with jobs. It's just as simple as that. You have in California, you have a huge population of homeless Americans. These are American citizens living on the streets. You don't see any illegal immigrants living on the streets because they're housed.
And I saw a lot of black people on the street, and I was like, quite shocking.
Yeah. There's a lot. There's millions of American citizens living on the streets in California. Whereas illegal immigrants come here and instantly get hooked up with a job.
All right, so you heard our brother. Now that's back in 2018, right?
I said,
and just to get an earful from that brother,
shaking
how
my
it
head
is
about
black people out. So I started looking more and more, into it. Start talking more and more to y'all. Y'all come talk to me like on these live streams and things like that. And it made me start doing a whole lot more research. And then just even for this video, that's just one video, right? And we could go along off of what this man said, how they gatekeep jobs, how they sabotage. Now, I've seen this happen, though. How they'll sit up here and try to sabotage black and white people. Because white people don't get on YouTube. They sabotage black and white people on jobs, get black and white people fired on jobs, and then you will see their cousins, their uncles, their brothers, their sisters, and everybody on the job got fired because they didn't try to get you out of there, and their whole family is there. Don't let one of them get to become a supervisor. I've seen that. And now you have black men and white men, working class white men, who can't even get certain jobs anymore because that's the play now. Of course, corporations had a lot to do with it, but that's the play. So when you have working class black men and working class white men seeing the play, because see, at first it was just happening to us, but now it's happening to white men. Now they're like, oh, hell no, they got to go. And unfortunately, that's how it is. They got to wait till it happens to them. Then now they're ready to be able to start moving around. But when we were saying it, our people were saying that, hey, this been going on a long time. They probably would never touch white men like that, like it's touching them now. Now, let's get on to something else. What's happening to black folks? What was happening to black folks in Los Angeles, California? Now, I know I've heard the relationship between blacks and Mexicans in Northern California is a little different, so I'm not focusing on that. But I'm focusing on LA, Southern California, why black people have no reason to come out. Now, I want you to listen to this brother out of LA. Listen to this.
Padrinos, we had a rumble with them, catching fades in there. Obviously in the county jail, just still like that, but I just remember even sometimes I had a little job, square job, late at night, I'm getting home off the bus. Mexicans on the bus, they ride the whole bus with me the whole time. The stop before I get off, they out here, they get off the stop before I get off, they chase me down, knives out. It's just always been with them. They always been, they out here, they write crabs. That's what they write. It's like a racist gang. Like, they like skinheads. That's how it is to me. They put that on the side of black churches to be disrespectful. Chase black girls home just because they black.
Do you think it's really about Mexicans don't hate, that Mexicans hate blacks, or is it more just a Longo's Crip thing?
I think it's Mexicans hate black, because if you come out here cripping from if you come out here blooding, they not gonna be your friend. If you walk through that liquor store, they gonna hit you up. If you say any type of crib, they gonna be on your head, but I think it's more so a black thing.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is, now you heard what that brother had to say, that he was chased by them. He didn't do anything to him. He said he's working a regular job, but they call it square out there. But he was working a job, right, trying to earn a living, and he had to run for his life with these dudes chasing him down, and he said it's based on race. He heard them say they are chasing down black women, black girls as well. So let me ask y'all a question. Who keep making videos at black people, talking about George Floyd? Why should black people come out there and help you? A lot of black people in LA right now, they won't tell you, but I'm gonna tell you. They are celebrating ICE coming in there right now. They're celebrating because they're like, oh, now you get to get your just due. All this mess you've been doing to black people, and I'm not done. I'm not done. You think I'm done? I'm not done just giving receipts. Brothers can't get jobs. Sisters can't get jobs. you're gatekeeping them. Then you fix them where if they don't speak Spanish, they can't get a job. This is the United States of America. English is the only language you need to speak to get any kind of job. And what I would tell anybody, if they tell you you can't get a job because you don't speak English, you need to sue under discrimination. And definitely with this administration, you probably can get to the Civil Rights Division real quick on that one. That's what I would do. If they told me I couldn't get a job because I don't speak Spanish, I'm suing. I'm going to the Civil Rights Division, the DOJ, and say no. This is an English-speaking country. You can't tell me I can't get a job because I don't speak a foreign language. Now, you can tell me that if I go to your homeland, that's different. But here, no. So, this has happened to many black people. The same story this brother's talked about, right? And people that hear this stuff and maybe had the experiences, you expect them to come out there and have any kind of sympathy for any of you. Then you frame it, oh, well, ICE is just going and mess with people that just working. They're not committing no crimes. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. But you broke the law by coming in. It don't matter if you just working a job. If you break the law, you broke the law. Every country has immigration laws. Why is it that the United States of America immigration law has to be a joke? And it's a joke because of the freaking Democrat Party with this open border crap, and these people have gotten entitled. They're fighting more to stay here. Listen, all that fighting you doing against ICE and the federal government, why was that fighting your homeland, bro? Why you didn't fight your government? Why you didn't fight them? Like you're trying to fight us. You're fighting our government. You're fighting ICE. You're fighting everybody to stay here while you trample the American flag, while you burn the American flag, while you wave the foreign flag, Mexico flag in particular. You waving all of that. If you love the country, go fight the same way over there. Man, make your country great. I'll support you. Like, this is why people are not supporting you. Your optics is wrong. Your motivation is wrong. It's not based in righteousness. It's not. See, when black people go out and fight, notice our fight is always based on something righteous. Let's go back to George Floyd. George Floyd's civil rights and human rights were violated that day. With that knee on his neck and him dying in that manner. That's what set people off. Not that George Floyd would rob somebody and because the police arrested George Floyd, we would go tear up the city. No. If George Floyd did something that took him to jail like normal, nobody gonna say nothing. But y'all literally fighting for people who broke the law. You want to tear up an American city and you don't even like America. You don't like America. You don't. All you want to do is take from America. Because if you loved America, you would do it, you would follow the laws. And then that's the thing. They still not being heavy-handed with y'all yet. Not yet. It's coming. I see it coming if you keep pushing it. But it's still not being heavy-handed. Because the majority of the police, LAPD, is their community. So they're holding back off of it. That's why Trump's sending all these, hurry and send the Marines now. Then Trump come out and said that if y'all spit, we hit. That's something he said now. That you spit on anybody, and he tell them to just get at you. Knock the fire out of you, right? So, in just those two videos alone, why would any black person come out and assist? Why? The LAPD ain't been doing anything about you. But they've been harassing black people. Whole white supremacist gangs out there. Right? Now, yeah, they ain't brought out the dogs, they ain't brought out the water hoses, they ain't brought out nothing on them, right? But when it was to us, it was water hoses and dogs and tanks. Let's get to another video here I want to show y'all, right? Them speaking on our reparations. I want you to hear this.
You better turn on your radio, man.
What is black lives matter that they want to be paid
for being, what is it, slaves and all that?
Reparations.
Yeah, there it
You're
is.
talking about, well, I heard they passed in North Carolina.
Yes.
It was a small little town in North Carolina that passed reparations for whoever's over there. I'm sure they'll try to do something out here in California. I think they already actually got a little board going that they're going to start looking into it. So,
Yeah, and that's what we, the Raza, need to step up, protest, and I'm talking major, and turn around and tell them, no, nobody gave reparations until the Native Americans and the Mexicans get ours first. We've been going through this crap a lot longer, so I don't want to hear it. Because it's not fair, dog. How are you going to give a bunch of money to a specific group, dog? This is the United States, a melting pot. How are you going to give it to a specific group?
because right now they've got the white people with so much guilt. It was your parents. And it goes back to this. That would be like me going back and talking about, hey, fool, you busted my homie. You told me, hey, but then.
No, that wouldn't even be like that.
It's, no, but
That's not even close.
Why?
It'd be like, hey, fool, your great-great-great-grandfather busted on my great-great-great-grandmother.
But that's what I'm getting at with that. Our stuff with our war wasn't that honorable. So if they can bring something up from 200 years ago, shit, this should be worse.
And in California, when you had the California Reparations Commission, they were the community that was against it, along with the Asians too. Of course, we know the white folks would be against it. But they were some of the main people that was against reparations. They don't want black people to get reparations at all. But we supposed to come out as a community in California to assist them with breaking federal law. That's what we're supposed to get out there and do, right? So we can't get jobs because you're undermining us and undercutting us and sabotaging us from getting jobs in LA or LA County or anywhere in those areas. Then your domestic terrorists who's in gangs are running around attacking people who aren't even in that life, right? You're chasing people down. You're doing all kinds of things. And when it comes to those gangs, I think President Trump should label them domestic terrorist organizations and go after them just for being in them. Go pick them all up and go throw them in the deepest, darkest federal prison that you got. Now, I'm going to show you why I feel that way. Let me go to an article from the LA Times. Get this article up on the screen so y'all can kind of see this here. Boom. All right. So this is from the LA Times. This is written July 7, 2016, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the headline. Latino gang members firebomb black residents to drive them out of Boyle Heights project, prosecutors allege. So, you mean to tell me FBA supposed to go join with y'all after y'all were firebombing black people? That's what black people are supposed to. Okay, so let's do a recap. Can't get a job, being sabotaged, say you can't speak Spanish to get a job, all of that. That's just number one. Chasing people down, beating people up. People can't even go work a job. You're messing with them or whatever. In your domestic terrorist organizations, that's what they ought to be, domestic terrorist organizations. Then your domestic terrorist organizations are firebombing people to try to get people out based on race. That's just, so do you think FBA should come out there and help y'all? All y'all making these videos? Let's get into it. It says 7 Latino gang members have been charged with firebombing the homes of black families living in a Boyle Heights housing project. An attack that federal prosecutors allege was designed to drive African Americans out the neighborhood. So they basically was doing some ethnic cleansing. Okay? Ethnic cleansing. All right. A federal indictment unsealed Thursday describes how the gang members allegedly planned to carry out the May 12, 2014 attack, which came at the time when black families were increasingly moving back into the Ramona Gardens public housing complex after previous violence that prompted most African Americans to flee. Prosecutors alleged that the men broke the apartment windows before hurling Molotov cocktails, ladies and gentlemen, inside, a move to maximize damage, and struck homes where families, including little black children, ladies and gentlemen, were inside. 3 of the 4 apartments were occupied by black families. So, FBA is supposed to go out there and protest ICE? when FBAs were getting Molotov cocktails thrown in their homes, and they wouldn't bother nobody? They say this crime is particularly heinous because they attacked people's homes where children were sleeping. And that's an Eileen Decker, who's U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California. So the fact that the children were endangered made this a particularly disturbing type of crime. Okay? It said the charges, it said, are the latest in several criminal accusations over the last 2 decades, 20 years, against Latino street gangs that use violence to push rival black gangs out of a certain neighborhood. A few years ago, federal prosecutors charged members of a Latino gang with a campaign to push blacks out of the unincorporated Florence Firestone neighborhood that allegedly resulted in 20 homicides over 3 years. It's in the Harbor Gateway District of LA. It said a Latino gang was accused of targeting African Americans, including 14-year-old Cheryl Green, whose death became a rallying point against such attacks. It said a member of the Avenues, a Latino gang in the Highland Park, that they were convicted of a series of assaults and killings in the early 1990s. And the Democrat Party allowed black people to be targeted in that manner. And y'all tell me, why are you talking about the Democrats, Philip? Why you always talk about them? Because California is a Democrat supermajority, and they allow these people to do this. Unchecked immigration and attack black people and using them to ethnically cleanse the black people out of California. As in the Ramona Garden case, prosecutors described the defendants as members of the Big Hazard Street gang, an East Side gang that dates back to the 1940s. The charge includes conspiring to violate civil rights, interfering with housing rights, committing violent crime to aid racketeering, and use fire and carrying explosives to commit a federal felony. And my issue with black folks with this is that if these were white people doing this mess, it would have been a problem. How y'all sit here and let them get away with this without this becoming a problem? Now I say for more than a generation, keeping blacks out of the housing complex seems a point of pride for Big Half. On August 30, 1992, explosion ripped through the pantry of Ramona Gardens apartment where a black couple and their 7 children lived. They say when they ran outside, they realized that another black family across the street had been attacked just minutes earlier. At the time, only 7 black families lived in the project, but after the attack, they began to quickly pack up and leave. And that's why black folks aren't in LA. They have been ethnically cleansed out, and LAPD let it happen. They let it happen. And yet black folks is supposed to go out there, and this is supposed to be the surveillance video. Let's go ahead and play that real quick. Let's see where this is at. Hold on, let's see if I can fast forward a little bit. Okay, fast forward right here. You see all that? What they had going on? But black people supposed to come out and protest for y'all. But when y'all run around here firebombing black people and run them out of the neighborhood, and you wonder why black people not in California, LA like that no more. You wonder why? Because the Democrats allowed them to do this. Okay? As they eventually black families started moving back to Ramona Gardens, a sign of progress in the community and the city that had largely put aside the violence of the 1990s. But even then, a gang said no longer hold the sway that it once did to try to intimidate black residents into leaving. Some threats were verbal, others came in the form of slurs, like the one written in the dust accumulated on the car of one black resident. So calling black people slurs, in one case, a rock was flung through a window. So black people supposed to go out and protest against ICE. Do you see why black people are saying, no, ICE, come on down here to LA. We need you here. Do you understand why in Chicago too, why they say, ICE, come on down here. Tom Homan, we want you here. Do you see why? Would you try to claim that you're innocent victims and they just targeting you? No. You have done some terrorism to black people. Now, of course, things seem to be improving until 2 years ago when Molotov cocktails used to throw at 4 apartments around Ramona Garden. Police said they strongly suspect the attack was racially motivated. At least one resident said at the time that she would ask for emergency transfer out of the complex, that she noted that things had been calm until the fiery attack. Others insisted they would stay. Okay, now they talk about the indictment, and yes, let me get you the update on that. So, let's say the East LA gang is from the Department of Justice Archives, okay? So they say East LA gang members who led firebombing of African American residents are sentenced to 16 years in federal prison. So they talk about the Big Hazard gang. You say it was sentenced today to 192 months in federal prison for orchestrating and executing the nighttime firebombing of African American families at the Ramona Gardens housing development in Boyle Heights in 2014 in order to force the residents out of their homes. Now this Carlos Hernandez, 36 years old, known as Ryder or Creeper, was sentenced. Of course, the judge had gave him and said what she had to say. But I just want y'all to see here. Now we not done. We not done. This is the Southern Poverty Law Center right here. Okay. This is another thing. Latino gang members in Southern California are terrorizing. Now say acting on orders from the Mexican mafia, Latino gang members in Southern California are terrorizing, killing blacks. Now say here, ascending the steep steps as they led to the street to the scene of her son's murder, 47-year-old Louisa Prudhomme is charged, they say, by a Doberman Pinscher. They say Prudhomme reached over a gate and give the guard dog a rough pat on the head. They say Sam doesn't seem to remember me, she says. Well, Prudhomme will never forget that in the past, the snarling Doberman in the apartment on the hill where 6 years ago her 21-year-old son Anthony was shot in the face with a 25 caliber semi-automatic while laying on a futon she had purchased for him from IKEA. He died wearing a shirt that read, "Killed the Peace." Now, Anthony Prudhomme was slain by members of the Avenues, a Latino street gang. But he was not a rival gang member or police informant or a drug dealer. He was just an innocent little brother. The Avenues did not target him for the content of his character or even content of his apartment. They targeted him for the color of his skin. Let me get back on camera here for a minute so y'all can see my face here. So FBAs is supposed to go out against ICE right now. They supposed to come out against the National Guard and the Marines. And this is what y'all been doing? And I know some of you gonna say, well, that's the gang members. That's not all of us. You didn't say nothing. So you take on all the responsibility of what they've been doing. I ain't got nothing to do with it. I just want to work. No. You take on the responsibility of that. That falls upon your community. It don't matter if you had nothing to do with it. It falls on your community because you didn't say nothing. You didn't have an outcry, outrage, anything. You know good and well some of you, some of your family members was part of these gangs, and you didn't say nothing. So we supposed to come out of the Marines out of our home. So we supposed to come face the Marines. We supposed to face the National Guard. We're supposed to face ICE. For what? You were firebombing us. You were killing our kids. You were harassing. The federal government been locking y'all up in some of the cases. This is why FBAs are saying we good. We are not getting. I better not see a single FBA outside their house. And all this stuff been happening to black people. Can't get a job because you don't speak a foreign language. If you want to learn a language, that's your business. Learn it. But you shouldn't be forced to in the United States of America to get a doggone job. I'm just keeping it 100. Shall we continue here? Let's get back here. Hold on. Looking at the time here. I know I got a time limit. Now I say Prudhomme was murdered because he identified himself as black. He was in fact mixed race. He said in the neighborhood occupied by one of the many Latino street gangs. Let's say in Los Angeles County. Incredibly, even though these gangs are fundamentally criminal enterprises, interested mainly in money, gang experts inside and outside the government, so they are now engaged in a campaign of ethnic cleansing, racial terror that's directed solely at African Americans. And you wonder why right now we have made sure to delineate from everybody and made sure to circle the wagons around ourselves, because these other groups have been sitting up here ethnically cleansing FBAs out of Los Angeles and Los Angeles County. Compton is not what Compton was in the 80s and 90s. When people hear Compton, they thinking that? No. Black people have been ran out of Compton. Now they say the way I hear these knuckleheads telling they don't want their neighborhoods infested with blacks, as if it's an infestation, says a respected Los Angeles gang expert Tony Raphael, who interviewed several Latino street gang leaders for an upcoming book on the Mexican Mafia, the dominant Latino gang in Southern California. They say it's pure racial animosity that manifests itself in a policy, they say, of a major criminal organization. And the Democrats did nothing but let it happen. And y'all sit up here got the nerve to tell me something about the Democrat Party? Why I'm always on their butt? Why I don't criticize the Republicans? I live in a Republican state. I ain't see this happen. I ain't see the Republicans let this happen to black folk here in Texas. There's absolutely no motive. It's an absence of the color of their skin. As former Los Angeles County Deputy District Attorney Michael Camacho said, before he became a judge in 2003, Camacho successfully prosecuted a Latino gang member for the random shootings of 3 black men in Pomona, California. He generally don't like African Americans. Pomona Gang Unit Officer Marcus Perez testified in that case. If an African American enters a neighborhood, they're likely to be injured or killed. But we supposed to go out right now with ICE and face ICE and the federal government and risk federal charges, because anything you do against a federal agent, oh, y'all looking at some football numbers for real. But they'll find out the hard way later. They find out. There's a comprehensive study of hate crimes in LA County released by the University of Hawaii in 2000 concluded that while the vast majority of hate crimes nationwide are not committed by members of organized groups, Los Angeles County is a different story. Research found that in the areas with high concentrations or clusters of hate crimes, the perpetrators were typically members of Latino street gangs who was purposely targeting blacks. This is coming from the Southern Poverty Law Center, y'all. Furthermore, the study found there's a strong evidence of race-biased hate crime among gangs in which a major motive is not the defense of territorial boundaries against other gangs, but hatred toward a group defined by racial identification, regardless of any gang related.
You're going to regret skipping this video.